How to stay fit even when you're busy on today's episode.
Today's episode is brought to you by SEO ProLab, the company that I trust to keep servenomaster at the top of Google. To save 10%, use the coupon code servenomaster at checkout. Go to servenomaster.com/SEO today.
Are you tired of dealing with your boss? Do you feel underpaid and underappreciated? If you want to make it online, fire your boss and start living your retirement dreams now, then you've come to the right place. Welcome to ServenoMaster Podcast, where you'll learn how to open new revenue streams and make money while you sleep. Presented live from a tropical island in the South Pacific by best-selling author Jonathan Green. Now, here's your host.
Right now where I live, it's the rainy season. That means that every day it's raining. Sometimes it's raining half the day, sometimes it's raining all day. And it's really the low season for surfing on my island. So the waves aren't really here very often, and when they are, it's often a storm. A couple of days ago, I saw these amazing waves outside, and then I realized it was the beginning of a tropical storm, so it was way too dangerous to go out there. And that means that I can't really get my normal outdoor exercise. It's not so easy to go surfing or stand-up paddling when the weather is always against me. And because of that, I've had to adapt my health routine. As you know, and if you've seen pictures of me, I'm someone who's always been a bit overweight, and it's something I have to be very conscious of. If I kind of slack off with my diet or with my exercise, I'll gain 20 pounds in 2 weeks. I'll just start ballooning very quickly. So I have to kind of always be on guard about my exercise. And in fact, things have been a little crazy for the last couple of days. My girlfriend had to go to the neighboring island yesterday, so almost for 4 or 5 days now, I haven't had a chance to exercise. And part of recording this episode is to remind myself, and as soon as I finish recording this, I'm going to go get in my morning workout. I'm really going to get back onto my routine. But when you live where I live, which is so remote, your health really is your own personal responsibility. You can't depend upon medical infrastructure in America, and in the West, we've become so dependent on medical infrastructure to take care of us and take responsibility for our own mistakes. We smoke until we get cancer. We eat until we're so overweight that we have to get surgery to repair it, or we catch really tough diseases that are all related to being overweight and being unhealthy. And this has nothing to do with aesthetics or anything else. There's simple scientific studies that say the bigger your waist is, the sooner you die. Flat out. It's the root cause of most major health problems in America, and I certainly know that I don't want to deal with those with where I live. I don't want to have to fly to another hospital because I have a heart attack in my 40s, or even worse, my late 30s. So health is something that's heavily on my mind because it has to be. I have to be really on top of it. And in fact, my family recently, we finally got our hands on some really good health insurance. It was something we've been talking about for a while. I finally went through a broker who helped me find the right plan for my family. And if you're wondering, we're with Integra. So far, it seems good. They emailed us our cards, so we were able to print them off and laminate them ourselves, which makes me feel pretty good. They have a little app you can use to file your claims and everything. For us, really, insurance isn't about going to the doctor for your checkups. It's really for a hospital type emergency, or when we have another child. Next year, hopefully, we're going to have another child. So one of the things they really talk about when you sign up for insurance is your weight determines, especially for me, I'm the one that most affects. The weight of me determines what level of insurance they'll offer me. And I have to be at a certain number, and I have to stay below a certain number, or it can affect my health coverage. Not that they'll cancel, but that they'll raise my premium. Because they know insurance companies only care about their numbers, and they know that if you're over a certain number, you're more likely to have health problems, and you're more likely to become a more expensive person. So you get moved to another category. Kind of like when you get car insurance, they ask you, are you a man under 25? Guess what? Your insurance is higher, because guys under 25 drive crazier and crash more. Just how it is. So knowing that losing weight extends your life, and maybe you're really fit and healthy. I know a lot of people who listen to the show, and some of the people I coach are in amazing shape. One of my coaching clients sent me a picture the other day, and he is ripped. He's older than me. He competes in bodybuilding stuff, and it's very impressive. I felt a little bit of that twinge of envy. I was like, man, I wish I looked like a movie star, but we can't all do that. It's still important to stay active. If I go for too long without running or without doing some cardio, I can tell that it affects me because when I walk up and down the stairs in my house, my breathing will change. One flight of stairs shouldn't change my breathing. As long as I'm exercising enough, that doesn't happen. So it's kind of my canary in the coal mine that something's wrong. So speaking of that, now we know exercise is important. Sometimes you're in a limited situation, depending upon where you live. I've gone through points in my life where I can't afford to join a local gym. We just don't have the money for it. So sometimes we can't afford a bunch of expensive gear. And I want to share with you a couple of things, a couple of ways to exercise that I think are really, really great and very interesting. A really good way to work out your body are called body weight workouts. And there are some really cool programs on YouTube, and there's some courses as well if you need to buy one, but you really don't. I bought a body weight program that I wanted to start using, and then it requires you to have a Western house. So a lot of the things around the house, it depends on, I don't have. It wants this certain type of door with a doorknob on it on either side. Now my house does have one of those now, but where I was living last year didn't. And even then the door here, it's not very sturdy. If I started using it to exercise, it would probably rip right off the wall. Because of the construction here, there's not the same regulations as in America. In America, I guess a door has to be strong enough for you to use it to exercise. And so these different things can sometimes be a challenge. There's some really cool workouts that depend upon just stuff you can find at the park, like a play park. You can just use the metal equipment there and kind of get a full exercise, but that's a really good way to start. There are a lot of exercises you can do that are body weight that are fine. Half of my morning routine is body weight stuff, and that's where you can do squats and push-ups, all these things you can do. All of them, you don't require any equipment. And it's a really simple way to work out, and I recommend if you're in a situation where you have limited options, this is a great place to start. For example, if you're in a hotel with no gym, or you have only a little bit of time, cranking out some squats, no matter how old you are, no matter if you're a man or woman, it's always good for you. Doing some workouts in your hotel room when you're traveling, all of these things really make a difference. When I was traveling a lot, it's hard for me to stay fit. It's very easy for me to slip into bad patterns. I'm not naturally an exercise guy. So for me, I have to be very vigilant. I got the flu last week. I was sick for a couple of days, and that's what's thrown off my regime. I have really exercised hard a lot. I got 2 ocean workouts in the last couple of days, just small ones, but I haven't had a good, nice morning workout, which I need. And what I like to do more often is yoga. Yoga is another body weight set of exercises, and there are a lot of ways. Yoga is so trendy right now. There's this thought you have to have the mat, but you don't. The only reason people use a yoga mat is because most yoga studios have hard wooden floors. But if you're in a hotel room, you probably have a carpeted floor. So that's enough to protect you from being hurt, or you can put a towel on the ground. Yoga is a really good workout because it requires no equipment. The only thing that people think they need is the mat, and you don't actually need that. The mat is there to make it a little easier for you, but you can also really get super tough if you just do it on a wooden floor. I'm not that tough, but you can, or a carpeted floor. There are a lot of ways to implement yoga. I keep a couple of workout routines on my laptop, but there are also tons and tons of apps, and there's some really cool websites that have yoga routines. And I'll post links below this episode to a couple of the really good yoga websites. I haven't used them in the past because my internet connection wasn't up to snuff, but now that I think about it, my internet connection's gotten really stable recently, so I can do a streaming yoga routine. So look for me to review some online yoga websites, but there are some really good choices. A couple of yoga websites, and then there's some really good yoga apps that just have a routine on your phone, tell you what to do. It's one of the best ways to use your phone as a tool. You put it in front of you, maybe you lean it against the wall, or use a book so it's facing you, a little stand, and you follow along a little yoga routine. It's really good for your body. For a long time, I did martial arts, really hard, full contact martial arts. But at a certain point in my life, I've transitioned into yoga, which is really good workout as well. I always thought yoga is for ladies and martial arts is for guys, but yoga is great for guys. It's really good for strengthening, and especially if you're older, it's something you can get into. Recently, my father has really gotten into yoga over the last year or two, which is great. He's gone through a lot of different sports. He used to be a very intense fencer. My father is probably 10 times the athlete I am. He was almost a professional baseball player, and when I say almost, I mean they offered him a contract from a pro team, okay? That's as almost as it gets. So there's these ways you can take care of your body that don't require equipment, that don't require you to spend money. You don't have to use any of the paid yoga programs. Like I said, I have a couple of DVDs that I copied on my computer that I use. I only use probably 3 or 4 different routines. I have one that's 20 minutes, one that's 40 minutes, and a couple that are more intense at 30. For me right now, I used to do a lot of yoga and I could do really good hour sessions. Now, my mind, I get bored if I do more than 20 minutes. So I would rather do a harder 20-minute workout. You find one that works for you, depending on where you are in life and your patience. You can also do certain martial arts that require no exercise gear. Tai Chi. We always think of Tai Chi as the exercise that we see grandparents doing in the park. And there's a reason for that. It's because they can continue to do it. It's not a hard contact sport. A lot of martial arts kind of wear down your bones because you're swinging and punching so hard. But I can tell you right now, as much as Tai Chi looks like it's all slow and stuff, you do not want to fight someone who knows Tai Chi, because all those motions, doing them really, really slow, is kind of putting your body in a constant state of tension, and it's really, really healthy. In fact, studies of Chinese elderly and compared to American elderly, Chinese, as they get older, they get smarter. So all of those fears we have in the West, all those traditional stereotypes that as you get older, your memory goes, your ability to perform certain tasks diminishes. For the Chinese elderly, those same tasks, they get better. Now, it might also be for the fact that they revere the elderly in Asian cultures, but it could also be Tai Chi. You can choose to do other martial arts as well and kind of work with DVDs and shadowbox or use free YouTube videos for any of these. These are all great ways to work out just in a hotel room or even in a closet or even in a prison cell. If you're in a prison cell like in one of those movies where the guy's working out all the time in the cell. These are all things that you can do. So I don't want you to ever think that lack of equipment is an excuse for holding you back, because it's not. There are also things you can do with a really light amount of gear. One of the things that I own that I really, really like, and I know it comes with a whole workout routine or whatever, it's called the TRX, or it's a piece of suspension equipment. Basically, it's a long rope with handle on each side, and you hang it from the ceiling or you hang it from an you can hook it to your door, the top of your door frame. The reason this piece of equipment's good, and again, you can get one for $10 to $20. You don't have to get the official one that comes with a workout DVD. The reason is it's good is it allows you to pull. With most bodyweight exercises, the limitation is that you're always pushing against the ground. So you can do a push-up against the ground, a squat against the ground. All your workouts are the act of pushing. But with a simple piece of equipment, a simple suspension that you hang on to, now you're pulling. You're doing the opposite exercise for all of your muscles. So now, for example, instead of just doing a push-up against the ground, you can lie on your back, grab the 2 pieces of the rope and pull yourself up. And that's really, really good. One of the mistakes people make who do a lot of weightlifting, every guy wants to bench lift so they can show off their big muscles and they get really strong in the chest. If your back isn't equally strong, you get that forward hunch to look in your shoulders. That's what causes that. So even though I don't know everything about fitness, I do know a few things. You want to have your front and back of equal strength so that your muscles aren't pulling yourself forward or backwards. If your back's too strong, you'll pull your shoulders back too far. So having some type of suspension, even if you just get a piece of rope, you make it yourself and throw 2 handles on it for like $5, the ability to pull means you can now do every exercise you need. So with just one tool, with just one simple thing you can fit in your suitcase or you can make in your own at any hardware store, you're covered. That's all you need for a complete routine. That will give you the ability to do everything to make your body amazingly strong. Another tool that I use, what I use the most is actually kettlebells. Now, if you're traveling all the time, kettlebells are not an option. You can't buy and travel with them. They're heavy. That's the whole thing. I used to order kettlebells in the mail because they had free delivery, and then they cottoned on, and now the delivery is a lot more expensive because they're bringing something to you that weighs like 30 or 40 pounds. I couldn't believe they did free delivery. The delivery guy was never happy having to bring like a 40-pound ball with a handle on it. There are a lot of options with kettlebells. Now, officially, kettlebells are Russian workout, and they're weighed in a scale called POODS, which is 16 kilograms. So the lightest weight is 16, then 32 kilograms, then 48 kilograms, up to like 96 kilograms. I have a 16 kilogram one, but most of the work I do is with a lighter weight. I mostly use a 10 kilogram bell, and I started off using a 5. I can admit that I don't have the strength of a Russian Special Forces soldier. Most of the kettlebell workouts I do actually are taught by ladies. I have a mix of male and female teachers on the DVDs that I have. I have to say that the lady-led ones so far that are kind of cardio driven, I've really enjoyed. The men ones, at least the ones I have, the DVDs I have, tend to be really strength focused, which is fine. But the routines there's a lot of instruction in between, and it kind of gets boring. They don't have an instruction section and then the routine separated, so you can watch instructions once. So I have a bunch of DVDs by the same lady. They're pretty good. And the reason I like the lady ones as well is that me and my wife can do them together. The strength one, some of the stuff my wife found a little bit challenging, even though she has a much lighter kettlebell. So being able to work out together is really good for us. I recommend kettlebells a lot as a great way to work out at home because you can do strength training and you only need one piece of equipment. And again, here's a secret. Kettlebells are very cheap. You can make your own. There's videos on YouTube about how to do it. You can take a piece of PVC pipe for like 50 cents that you buy at Home Depot and round the ends so it turns into a handle. And you take an old basketball, fill it with concrete, and you shove in the handle and you wait a day and it's a kettlebell. I've seen people do this on the internet. Now that's beyond my ability as far as home creativity. I've never made anything concrete. But if you need to make your own kettlebell on the cheap, it's a really good way to do it. Mostly it's for if you need to make a really heavy one, that's what you do. For the level I'm at, you would use a child's basketball. And this is something you can do that gets you a really good exercise. The reason a kettlebell is so great is because you can do probably 30 really great exercises with it that work almost your entire body. And has a lot of pushing and a lot of pulling, kind of lets you do most of the things you need to do, and it's really, really great. So I'm a big fan of kettlebell workouts. I got into them about a year ago when I was working with a private trainer online who was a really great guy. I couldn't keep up. With all the things going on in my family, and then we moved, so my workout setup has changed. So lately I've been working from DVDs, but sometimes it really helps to get a trainer, whether it's online or in person, just depending on what you can afford, to help you design routines that you can then implement on your own. The third way you can work out with really light and low expensive gear is a rubber band. And I'm sure there's a more official name for it, like an exercise band or whatever they want to call it, which is something you pull and it stretches and then it pulls you back. These are really good. They use one of these, I believe, in the P90X videos. I think that's one of the few things you have to have as a band. When I was hurt in a car accident in my mid-20s, I was in a pretty serious car accident, did some damage to my spine. That's how I rehabbed my strength. I used to work a lot with a rubber band at home, and they didn't give me a band. What they gave me was more like a piece of rubber that I had to spin into a band. But it was the same idea. It was a stretchy thing, and I would do all these exercises to strengthen my back. And it really, really helped. It built up my back strength in a major way and helped me recover from that injury. There are lots of ways to exercise your body and put together a routine that works for you. The key component is to find something that you actually like doing, that you enjoy, and to find a way to lower the barrier to entry. If you have to drive 20 minutes to the gym, and if you show up late, the teacher embarrasses you, or it's uncomfortable, and it takes time, or you really don't like what you're doing, all of those become barriers to continuing activity. Turns into a job, and no one wants to do a job. I like to do kettlebells in the morning because I like how it makes me feel. So it makes it a more achievable goal. Right now, I don't really like yoga. I don't know why. I've liked yoga for a lot of my life. I've done a lot of yoga, but for some reason, when I get up in the morning, I fire up the TV, I'd much rather do a kettlebell routine than a yoga routine. I think it's because I get a lot more done more quickly. There are some 10-minute kettlebell routines that just wreck me. So I can get a really good workout really quickly. And that's something I really like right now. I think it's because I'm working on so many projects and dealing with my 2 kids and all those things. It's hard to put the kids and say, don't go crazy for a full hour. I can sometimes get them to calm down for 20 minutes, and that's the amount of time I can work with. And I think that's part of it. But all of these are tools that I have. I have a suspension. I have a kettlebell. I don't have a rubber band right now. Now that I say that, I'm thinking about if in my stuff I have a rubber band. I don't, because I use a kettlebell and the suspension instead. But I've used a rubber band a lot in the past, like I said, to recover from my car accident. And when I was doing a lot of P90X, I had a rubber band as well, but I think I left it in America. These are really simple tools you can have. You don't need to build a whole entire home gym. I have an exercise bike as well because I really like biking while I read a book. But biking is good for weight maintenance for me, kind of keeps me even keeled, but it's not good if I need to push my weight down a little bit. So I really need to do this other stuff and then throw in a little bike in the afternoon. The reason we want to stay healthy, there's a whole host of reasons, but the most important reason is that you're about to enter a phase of your life that's much, much better. We have more freedom and more wealth. And the more health you have, the longer you can enjoy both of those things. The more time you get to enjoy the rewards that you deserve for being a part of this family. I really want you to experience the goodness of life. So as much as I'm certainly not a health coach, I don't have any health products, but these are simply stories from my own situation. I want to be around with my kids for as long as possible, and I want the same thing for you. I want you to achieve that freedom and then travel around the world for 5, 10, or 20 years, really extend your life in a great way. And that's why it's part of what I share on ServenoMaster, because it really ties in together. One of the things that happened to me when I used to go to a lot of conferences, I was never able to quit smoking because a lot of the networking happens around the smoking. All the people that I do business with go outside and would all smoke together. Now, I think almost everyone that I work with has quit, and it's really shifted, which is great. But it affected my business for a long time. And so I was unhealthy in order to do more business. And it's not really necessary. You can still stand outside and do plenty of deals without smoking or meet people when they're in between their smoking. But because I was a smoker and I kept trying to quit, it didn't work. Now, I haven't smoked in a really long time, actually. I don't know if it's 2 or 3 years anymore. I've lost track because it's been a long time because it's no longer a temptation for me. I really broke my smoking habit in a major way. It took me a lot of work to get there, okay? Quitting was not easy. But now the thought of smoking disgusts me. But for 10 years and for a long time, it was a big problem for me. And believe me, you don't want to be a fat guy smoker in a foreign country. Like, talk about double whammying yourself. So I had to break the smoking first, and now health is kind of my kick. That's why I talk about health more than smoking. But you can think, oh, I have to do this unhealthy thing to push forward my business. But you don't. So don't think you need to be living an exerciseless life. You can have a little bit of health in your life. And again, all of these routines I'm talking about are 20 minutes in the morning. My routine is going to be shorter than this podcast episode, but it will allow me to extend my life and stay really healthy and fit and live longer. And these are some really simple ways that you can stay fit, extend your life, and really enjoy the rewards and the fruits of all of your labors for just a little bit longer.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of ServenoMaster. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss another episode. We'll be back tomorrow with more tips and tactics on how to escape that rat race. Head over to servenomaster.com/podcasts now for your chance to win a free copy of Jonathan's bestseller, ServenoMaster. All you have to do is leave a 5-star review of this podcast. See you tomorrow.
You've just listened to another amazing episode of the ServenoMaster podcast. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll be back tomorrow with another amazing episode.